on this beautiful Thursday night, 18 minutes past the hour of 11 p.m. here in Kampala, Uganda, and we'll be discussing the latest from the world of football, including the UEFA Champions League draws that are just concluded. We'll be seeing what teams have been pitted where. I do not know if we'll create room for an extension to have a chat about Manchester United's woes and their sort of dissatisfaction with the manager in Ruben Amorim. Then also we will get to speak about transfers. Chelsea reaching an agreement for a Manchester United star that is getting done. Then Tottenham Hotspurs are close to hijacking a deal for a Chelsea target. So that's also happening. Anyways, allow me, was having our onions tested just to make sure everything does check out in the simplest of terms or ways. So, I mean, there's that and more that we'll be discussing tonight. For those of you, okay, so we'll be talking about then Christopher Nkunku is on his way to Italy. Newcastle have themselves a striker after snapping up a Bayern Munich target. I mean, the player that they are snapping up has been a Bayern Munich target almost all summer, and it looks like they are set to land his services. So that caught me off guard. I mean, in a way, that was a surprise move, and how Newcastle managed to pull that off almost under the radar, when nobody literally expected them to go that direction, is one that is beyond me, really. So, but we'll be digesting that and more, what it implies. Is here an Alexander Isak replacement, or there's more to the story, or there's more to the story than what we are being told. So there's that as well. Then we will also get to discuss perhaps things that are what is holding up that deal for Jakub Kivio to FC Porto. We'll get to look at that. Then we'll get to look at all those things really. So do join me for this special episode on your favorite football updates channel. That's at Footballtribe UG. Special shout outs to you, Pedri, to you, King Lotto, and every single one. King Lotto, yes. I think kickboxing and every single one of you are regulars, semi-regulars, the usual suspects, are people that do get to watch our content every single day out. It's been a pleasure having you guys on board. Then, apologies, I'm trying to load a page here. I do not know why it's taking forever, but these things tend to happen. They tend to happen. Anyways, so the question is, where do we start it all? I think the most obvious place to start is with the UEFA Champions League draws. Those have been conducted this evening / night at the draws kicked off at about 7 p.m. East African time. So it's only ideal that we start on that front for us anyway to get this conversation going. I mean, it's a very, very interesting draw, a very, very difficult draw for Paris Saint-Germain, I must be honest. Not that it is easy for anyone, but sometimes some teams get it a little bit more fair than others. So that's just what's happening, that's just what is happening. So because when you look at what PSG have, and the reason that's why I single them out is because they are the reigning champions of the competition. They are the reigning champions of the UEFA Champions League, and in those teams that they do have to play against at the group stages at the group stage / league format, because as you know, the format was changed to go from the traditional groups of A, B, C, D up to F, that had 4 teams. I remember it was expanded to 36 teams, a total of 36 teams. These are graded on a league table format, but they do not get to play each other. They're put in 4 pots or 4 pools of 9 teams apiece, and those 9 teams play 8 fixtures, 4 at home, 4 away. So there's nothing like home and away kind of arrangement. So you get to play your opponent at least once, either at your home or away from your home. And so basically, so Paris Saint-Germain have Bayern Munich at home. They have Barcelona away from home. They have Atlanta at home. They have Bayer Leverkusen away from home. They have Tottenham Hotspur at home. They have Sporting CP away from home. They have Newcastle at home and Athletic Bilbao. Now, if I were to sort of go on a quick think out, now all these are winnable games because these are teams they've managed to beat up against. They did beat up against Bayern Munich recently at the FIFA Club World Cup, over there in the USA. Atlanta is a winnable fixture. Bayer Leverkusen are really, I don't want to use the word shambolic, but Erik ten Hag is yet to get them where they hope and expect to be. They've lost loads of players, which I think is going to really impact on their performances this season unless something changes quickly. So you do have that. The Tottenham Hotspurs, they did face this one in the UEFA Super Cup, and we saw that one ended in a 2-2 draw, with PSG having to come from 2 goals down. And of course, they did not have their best team. But again, it's a winnable fixture, especially given that it is a home fixture. Then Sporting CP away is a winnable fixture. Newcastle, this one beat them the other season, 2023-2024, at St. James's Park. So you could look at that and say, maybe a draw 50-50 Athletic Bilbao should be a winnable fixture. So those are some of the opponents that the reigning champions in Paris Saint-Germain will have. So, however, this is the entirety of the draw as one would have it, or as it is going to be, in terms of those in terms of the respective pools of these teams. That tally has 36 teams, like I told you, and those teams are pulled together in different pools, and these are the opponents, or some of the opponents that your teams will face. Now, the reason as why this format is changed, and allow me, I'm going to read them in the sense of what the Premier League teams that are going to be in the UEFA Champions League. Remember, there's 6 of these teams. There's Arsenal, there's Chelsea, there's Liverpool, there's Manchester City, there's Newcastle, and Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur became the 6th team by the virtue of the fact that they won the Europa League last season, beating up against Manchester United by 0-0 at San Mamés. So because of that, so I'm going to be reading what those teams, their opponents will be, because there's an interchange of opponents. For example, okay, here's the onlook of things. We'll go in alphabetical order. Arsenal do have Bayern Munich, they have Inter Milan, they have Atletico Madrid, they have Club Rouge or Braga. Sorry, they have Club Rouge, they have Olympiacos, they have Slavia Praha, they have Kairat Almaty. That game will be at home. I see Real Madrid is one of those teams that will have to play Almaty from Kazakhstan. I think their flight will require them to travel for about 11 hours. So you can imagine. Then Athletic Bilbao, the team that they beat up against recently in the Emirates Cup at home. Then Chelsea. Now, okay, just to clarify about those opponents, Bayern Munich will be at home at the Emirates. Inter Milan will be away. Atletico Madrid will be at home. Club Rouge will be away. Olympiacos will be at home. Slavia Praha will be away. Almaty will be at home, and then Bilbao will be away from home. That's in Spain. Remember last season, I think they had a game in Spain against Girona, which they won by 2-1. For Chelsea, Chelsea are going to meet Barcelona. That will be a home game. Bayern Munich away from home. Benfica at home. They'll meet Atlanta away from home. They'll meet Ajax at home. They'll meet Napoli at away from home. Remember, Napoli is under the charges of their former manager, Antonio Conte. Then they will meet Pafos at home. Then they will also play Qarabağ away from home. Then Liverpool do have a date with Real Madrid. So in this particular case, we have a reunion of Alexander Trent-Arnold with Liverpool, because they will face off with Real Madrid at home. They'll play Inter Milan away from home. Remember, Arsenal also have Inter Milan. They'll play Atletico de Madrid. Remember, Arsenal also have Atletico de Madrid. They'll play Eintracht Frankfurt away from home. They'll play PSV Eindhoven at home. They'll play Olympique Marseille away from home. They'll play Qarabağ at home and Galatasaray away from home. Then Manchester City. Manchester City is going to come with a renewal over old with a rematch between Kevin De Bruyne and his former bosses, because Manchester City, among their opponents, they do have Napoli. But here's the whole one. Man City have Dortmund at home. They have Real Madrid away from home. Very entertaining fixture. They've met themselves a good couple of times in as far as the UEFA Champions League is concerned. Bayer Leverkusen at home. Villarreal away from home. They have Napoli at home. Bordeaux Gremot away from home. They have Galatasaray at home and Monaco away from home. Speaking of Monaco, among the opponents that Monaco has should be Juventus. Juventus should be one of those that they will have to face. Then now Newcastle will be up against Barcelona. It's a home game. They play PSG at home. They play Benfica at home. They play Bayer Leverkusen away from home. They play PSV Eindhoven at home. They play Olympique Marseille away from home. They play Athletic Bilbao at home, and then they play Union SG away from home. Then Tottenham Hotspur will have a date with Dortmund, PSG, Villarreal, Frankfurt, Slavia Praha, Bordeaux Gremot, Copenhagen, and Monaco. I think if there's any team, any English team that has it a little softer, it must be Tottenham Hotspur, because take away Dortmund, take away PSG, and all the rest are winnable fixtures. Now, I'm not saying Villarreal will be a walkover. I mean, we saw what they did to Arsenal, beating them, I think, by 3-2 in the Emirates Cup. It has very, very good players, the likes of Nicolas Pepe, Thomas Partey, among others, because Yeremy Pino has left. He's been signed to Crystal Palace. So when you look at Villarreal, Frankfurt, Slavia Praha, Bordeaux Gremot, Copenhagen, and Monaco, those should be winnable fixtures for the kind of team that Thomas Frank is trying to assemble, or that he is having. Speaking of Thomas Frank, they are trying to hijack a deal for Chelsea's pursuit of Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig. They've been having conversations with RB Leipzig about signing the player, and they are willing to pay at least 70 million euros to sign the 22-year-old Dutchman, the Dutch dynamic forward. It's sort of building a bit of excitement amongst the Tottenham fan base. It's sort of building that kind of environment. So let's just wait and see. But looks like Tottenham fans will be really, really excited at the possibility of signing Xavi Simons. I think less because it will be a snatch up from Chelsea's grassy, but more because he is a very, very brilliant player. Now, again, this has been one that has been spoken about all day. There's a lot of movement that is happening in the transfer world. According to Ben Jacobs, he did say that Tottenham have held advanced talks with RB Leipzig over a move for Xavi Simons. Spurs are prepared to pay 70 million euros. Personal terms with Simons are being worked on and not far off. Simons has already agreed terms with Chelsea and has wanted a move to Stamford Bridge or summer, but there is no agreement between the two clubs. Chelsea now have to move fast with Spurs are pushing for a quick agreement. Spurs cautious in case Chelsea counter, but agreement between Spurs and RB Leipzig and Spurs and Simons is close. That's according to Ben Jacobs. So that's on the side of transfers. Also, Chelsea have held further talks today with Barcelona over the possibility of signing Fermin Lopez, who has spoken to Enzo Maresca. According to reports, nothing is closed or guaranteed at the moment, but Chelsea continue to seriously explore the move. Barcelona, I reported to want about 60 million euros plus. And then, Fermin Lopez apparently will be open to the move. No agreement has been set yet. Yesterday we did discuss this, and according to reports from Spain, was that Hansi Flick is reluctant of letting Fermin Lopez go, although Joan Laporta is open to a move, to a sell, for him. So that's interestingly happening on that front. So we will keep our eyes peeled to it at the moment as things do stand. Nick Woltemade to Newcastle. This is I believe this arguably is the hottest cake of the day. Nick Woltemade, according to David Austin of The Athletic, he does say Newcastle have reached an agreement with Stuttgart to sign Nick Woltemade, a deal for the 23-year-old VfB forward is worth 75 million euros plus 5 million euros in add-ons. German international targeted all summer by Bayern Munich, but now on course to join Newcastle. Now, yes, like I told you, Bayern Munich seem to have lost this battle to Newcastle, and not because the player chose Newcastle over Bayern Munich. The player had already agreed to personal terms with Bayern Munich that were about 7.5 million euros per season, plus bonuses reaching to up to 10 million euros in wages or pays. And however, Bayern Munich were reluctant to meet Stuttgart's price tag for the 23-year-old German forward. Now Newcastle are swooped in last minute to get a deal done for Nick Woltemade. This is after they had two bids turned down for Jürgen Strand-Larsen from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Although Jürgen Strand-Larsen had politely told his bosses at Wolverhampton Wanderers that he would want to explore a move to Newcastle. That deal he had been told by his bosses at Wolverhampton Wanderers that won't be a possibility at the moment, that he is not for sale in this transfer window or during this summer. So you have that as well. Then quickly, this is a huge scoop for Newcastle. Multiple reports are suggesting that they do view him as a replacement for Alexander Isak. They do view him as a replacement for Alexander Isak. That was intimated, I think, by Ben Jacobs, who did intimate that Newcastle view Nick Woltemade as a replacement for Alexander Isak, although they would still need to sign a backup striker to replace a departed Callum Wilson. Now, in that backup position, that is where they want to target, or they are still trying to pursue a deal for Yohan Wissa. At the moment, I think they are bracing themselves for an approach or a late transfer window approach from Liverpool for the transfer of Alexander Isak, who has been adamant all transfer window that he is not willing to play again for the Magpies. So very, very sort of interesting, kind of deal. And he said, Ben Jacobs said, and I quote, Newcastle view Nick Woltemade as an Alexander Isak replacement, and they could still move for Yohan Wissa, who is seen as a Callum Wilson replacement. Wolverhampton Wanderers are not expecting Jürgen Strand-Larsen to depart. Liverpool prepared to bid for Isak. However, they are not willing to go close to the £150 million price tag for the 25-year-old Swedish international. So Yohan Wissa is also still pushing for move to join Newcastle, whose last bid that was about 35 plus £5 million was rejected by Brentford. Newcastle wants two attackers, with Wissa viewed as the Callum Wilson replacement. Another bid is likely. Whether it will be an acceptable bid, that remains to be seen at the moment. And this is an interesting span of events, because whatever Newcastle do in the transfer window may have an impact on what Liverpool can do. We know for a fact that Liverpool, in the dying days of the transfer window, want to sign Alexander Isak and Mark Gay from Crystal Palace. Now, while they have already reached agreements or in principle with both players on personal terms, all their points of departure in Newcastle and Crystal Palace, respectively, for Alexander Isak and McKay, they would want to first find replacements in the market before those transfers can be sanctioned. Now, over the last couple of hours, if not days, my feeling about the possibility of these deals getting done have sort of increased, particularly the one of Alexander Isak has increased today after Newcastle reached that agreement to sign Nick Woltemade. And when I weigh things and I have an outlook on things, I get the feeling that this is a deal that is increasingly going to get done throughout the course of, during the course of this period. Before we close the transfer window, that will be on Monday, the 1st of September, which will be sort of a bit of a rush hour or marathon. Then also, Fiorentina are interested in signing Brighton and Hove defender Tariq Lamptey. So that one is one to watch, but at least that is what is happening on that side of Newcastle. Then also, apologies. Yes, I think we've discussed Nick Woltemade. We've discussed Jürgen Strand-Larsen, what the implications are given the kind of transfer. Then also, Chelsea did reach an agreement with Manchester United to sign Alejandro Garnacho. A deal for the 21-year-old winger is worth £40 million as fixed fee plus a future 10% sell-on clause. Contract that he will put pen to paper will be a 7-year contract until June 2032. Medical is scheduled to take place in London on Friday as the Argentine international joins Chelsea for Manchester United. Now, Chelsea and Man United have a bit of a good relationship. 2 years ago, Chelsea sold that was Mason Mount to Manchester United. But that notwithstanding, the player himself in Alejandro Garnacho has stuck out his guns all throughout the transfer window, being adamant that the only team he wants to join is Chelsea, having already agreed to personal terms with the Blues over there at Stamford Bridge. He did reject the move to Bayern Munich, which I thought was a bit, I don't want to say naive. It's more like wanting to stick it to Manchester United as opposed to, Bayern Munich not being of a higher status than Chelsea, because they are of a higher status than Chelsea if we were to weigh the two sides. Anyways, that deal is getting done. In this, have Manchester United gotten the right value for Alejandro Garnacho? I certainly do not think so, especially in the transfer window where we've seen Noni Madueke make the move from Chelsea to Arsenal for £52 million. That's guaranteed fees plus add-ons included. Where we've seen Chelsea pay in the excess of £50 million for Jamie Gittins. In the same transfer window where we've seen Chelsea pay, £60 million, at least 55 of that being guaranteed. For Brighton is Joao Pedro, where we've seen Newcastle pay £53 million for Anthony Elanga to go from Nottingham Forest to Newcastle. So when you look at those deals, and we are talking about a player who 12 months ago, that's 1 year ago, was being valued at about 100 million euros, and today you're getting just half that, and it's not good. It's just not a good deal in comparison to all those deals that have happened. But Manchester United will only have themselves to blame because they let this happen. They had the opportunity of letting the player go in January, where they could have milked a little bit more cash. They declined that. Then again, they put it out to the world for the world to know that he was out in the coolers, waiting for takers to come in, which then put them in a bad negotiating position. For me, I always thought that while they were opening to an offer, they should have let him continue with the rest of the team, because the manager who threw him out as an outcast, things are not happening for him in any case. So we'll keep eyes on that situation. So Chelsea are getting their man in Alejandro Garnacho, but once they wrap up this one, they may turn their attention on trying to seal a deal for Xavi Simons, because they remain interested in signing him. I feature 10% sell-on clause. That means if Chelsea sell if Chelsea sell Alejandro Garnacho for £50 million, which would mean a £10 million kind of profit, United gets 5% of that. 10% of that, which would be the equivalent of £500,000. Small money. And I'm not saying Chelsea would sell him at that, but it will depend on his development in the coming days. Then also, AC Milan did reach an agreement, staying up with Chelsea. AC Milan did reach an agreement with Chelsea to sign, French forward Christopher Nkunku. The 27-year-old forward is going to go for 42 million euros plus a sell-on clause for Chelsea. Permission granted to travel and personal terms are already in place for the French international to join AC Milan. Remember, AC Milan were trying to get Rasmus Højlund in this transfer window before they switched their attention to getting a deal done for Christopher Nkunku. I think it's a good move for him. The Italian league is a bit slower. I think he will thrive there under Massimo Allegri. They wanted that player to play, who can play in between Rafael Leao and Christian Pulisic, and I think he will offer them that. AC Milan have sort of had, a 50-50 kind of transfer window, and not so many marquee signings have they had, but they managed to recruit some good players, really. Of course, given AC Milan's overall European profile, you look at their squad and it's still below the bar. But they are looking to build on that with Massimo Allegri and see where, heights can take them. Then, like I've told you about, Liverpool's pursuit for Alexander Isak and McKehy, that one is, those are possibilities that we see getting done in this transfer window, getting done. Then Napoli are also signing Elmas from RB Leipzig. That deal is happening according to Fabrizio Romano. It's a here we go. Then Liverpool are ready to go all in and bid for Alexander Isak, as the player's stance never change. That's just Fabrizio Romano trying to re-emphasize that. Then also AC Milan, I think, were offered the chance to sign Dusan Vlahovic from Juventus, although I do not know what stance has been taken, with Juventus being reported that they could be open to accepting 30 million euros because they want to get him off their wage bill. So, then also it's just a matter of time before Napoli seal that transfer for Rasmus Højlund as on an initial loan deal to get Rasmus Højlund for Manchester United. The 22-year-old Danish striker is on the verge of completing that move. Minor details are being ironed out between Napoli and Manchester United. The agreement will be an initial loan deal with an obligation to buy for a fee that is close to about 45 million euros. That's according to Fabrizio Romano, and as far as this transfer window is concerned. However, while Dusan Vlahovic has sort of been floated around the market, according to the Juventus director, Komori, he did say we can say that 99% Dusan Vlahovic will stay with us this season. So looks like their attempts to move him on have not yielded much. And yeah, so it is what it is. Then Nottingham Forest have agreed a deal to sign Nicole Savona on a permanent move from Juventus. The transfer fee is in the excess of about 15 million euros. Clubs exchanging documents ahead of medical tests. Savona can sign as a new Nottingham Forest player during the course of the weekend. Remember, the transfer window does close on Monday, so expect a lot of transfer activity between tomorrow throughout the weekend as clubs, play their weekend games and things like that. All teams, Bayern Munich are really trying to push for a move to sign Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea. Looks like it's a deal that could happen. However, there is still no agreement between Chelsea and Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich want to take the player on loan. I don't know if there will be an obligation to buy, but Chelsea wanted to wait for the end of the Alexander Isak saga and see if Newcastle can sort of come in for him Aston Villa is one of those teams that are interested in services. However, not much movement is being made at the moment. So Bayern Munich are really pushing to try and get a deal done for Nicholas Jackson. Now, if you're Nicholas Jackson and you live in Chelsea, try and find more regular playing time. I do not think you're going to find that at Bayern Munich, because at Bayern Munich there is Harry Kane, who's scored what, 90 goals or so for Bayern Munich ever since joining them only 2 seasons ago. So it's going to be an absolute hassle in that regard. Then also AC Milan, like I told you, made inquiries about the possibility of signing Manuel Akanji. Remember, AC Milan, Bayer Leverkusen, Crystal Palace are all some of the teams that are interested, as well as Galatasaray are some of the teams that are interested in signing Manuel Akanji from Manchester City, valued at around £15 million thereabout plus. So we will keep our eyes peeled to that deal as well. Then, like I told you, Jakub Kivior is on the verge of joining FC Porto on an initial season-long loan with an obligation to buy. Now, Arsenal are the ones holding that deal. They do not want to sanction a move until they have an agreement with Bayer Leverkusen for the transfer of Piero Hincap or Incap. Now, according to reports, they do say that I think this was according to the hand of Arsenal. He did say that Andre Bata has put a 48-hour ultimatum to that deal in their pursuit for Pierre Hincap. Bayer Leverkusen ought to, Bayer Leverkusen and Arsenal ought to reach an agreement on that deal within 48 hours, or he will be looking to move on. Now, he's a player that he knows one too well. He's the player that they've chosen. They want as a replacement for Jakub Kivior in this transfer window. However, Arsenal do not want to sort of let themselves bare before guaranteeing that they get a replacement, because that left-footed centre back, remember, Jakub Kivior is the deputy to Gabriel Magalhaes. And while one would argue that they still have Ricardo Carafiori, today Ricardo Carafiori is looked at more of a left back than he is a centre back. And now it's not to say that he cannot play there, he can't play there, and they played him there before. But because of also his fitness levels, in terms of his reliability when it comes to injuries, they know they can't go in the season with an over-reliance on just, Ricardo Carafiori saying that if there's an issue with Gabriel Magalhaes, then he's the one to step in. In any case, could easily get injured before even, Gabriel Magalhaes and that kind of thing. So that's how they look at things in that regard. So they are still holding that deal. But a majority of things have been agreed, especially between FC Porto and Arsenal. In fact, there were reports coming out of the UK yesterday, or as of this morning, saying that there was a private jet waiting to fly Jakub Kivior to Porto in Portugal to get that deal done. So we'll just have to wait and see in regards to what is happening on that one. So now, you remember Xavi Simons? I talked about this. Now, apparently, Xavi Simons is already in London with his camp in order to try and clarify his future move soon, authorized by RB Leipzig. Now, Tottenham are in club-to-club talks with RB Leipzig, like I've informed you. However, no agreement has yet been reached. They've only signaled a commitment to pay up to 70 million euros, which would be an acceptable fee for RB Leipzig. However, no personal terms are yet to be reached upon. Now, remember, the player reached an agreement on personal terms with Chelsea, but Chelsea are yet to reach to an agreement between themselves and RB Leipzig. So it's a bit of an unclear situation at the moment, one that they are trying to look to resolve very soon. Then Fabio Silva did fly up to Germany to complete a move to Borussia Dortmund after leaving Wolverhampton Wanderers. So that one is also getting done in that spirit. So a lot of transfer news is happening. A lot of deals are getting done. Then Now, according to Sky German, they say it's very unlikely that a transfer for Rodrigo Goes to Liverpool will happen on the deadline day. But like I keep saying, do not rule out anything. Anything can happen on deadline day when it comes to transfers. You know, deadline day is like is almost like an auction in a way, because calls are constantly being made about availability of players, and it could be 1 hour left to the transfer window, and then a phone call comes in and it's like, yeah, we are willing to let him go on loan, or we are willing to sell, and then suddenly you have him on the move. So just do not rule out anything. You never know, there could be deadline day surprises for some of your big teams. I know for a fact that Arsenal have been predominantly linked with a potential move to sign a left winger this summer. However, I think with the coming in of Ebeleche Eze, Noni Madueke, who I do not think does suit playing on the left side very well, but also bearing in mind that Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli are still available, I do not see how they move to sign a left winger unless there's a late movement in the transfer window, which I do not see happening at the moment. I'm not saying it can't happen, I just do not see it happening. There's been multiple reports about, Saudis being interested in, Gabriel Martinelli, but no bids have come in yet. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been sacked at Besiktas with immediate effect. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been sacked at Besiktas with immediate effect. So again, it's not pretty. It's not pretty, but yeah, he's been let go. He's been let go. He's been let go, and that's the nature of football work. That's the nature of football work. Unfortunately, Kayode Ogudeji says, hello, how are you doing, my brother? Hi, Ogudeji, how are you doing? It's been a while since I last seen you on the podcast. How is Nigeria? Kayode is an Arsenal fan joining us from Nigeria. Good evening to you, my brother. I hope you're doing well. How have you been lately? Everything okay with you? Whatever held you away from our broadcasts, I hope it's been worked on and it's out of the way. I pray that everything works out well for you. I was wondering why, I wasn't seeing those comments or those, comments coming in through. So when it comes to Arsenal, that is what is happening. There's a potential move for Jakub Kivio, but it is dependent on Arsenal agreeing a deal for Piero Hinkap from Bayer Leverkusen. Then I do not rule. Then Crystal Palace have made an approach to Arsenal to sign Reece Nelson. Those negotiations are ongoing. They are not advanced, but they are ongoing. Apparently, Crystal Palace have offered about 15 million pounds. My argument the other day was that they should be offering at least 20 million pounds plus 5 million pounds in expected add-ons. And the reason for that, while many Arsenal fans will still feel that maybe I'm undervaluing the player, is because of his injury record. Is not good. Kayode says Nigeria is good. Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. How was the Nigerian team welcomed back? How were the Super Eagles welcomed back after their poor performance at the African Nations Championship? Kayode. Also, do let me know what was the kind of mood receiving those players back, and also if you have any questions, you can feel free to put them down in the comment section, and we will discuss them. Then also, anyways, that's majority of the transfers. Garnacho to Chelsea is a done deal. Nick Woltemade to Newcastle is getting done. They will try and push for Yohan Wissa. So many moves being made in the transfer window. We've talked about the UEFA Champions League, a draw. We've looked at the opponents for majority of the English teams. Then two names. Now, this is according to Court Offside. Now, we know that Ruben Amorim is come under fire ever since being knocked out yesterday over being knocked out at the Carabao Cup. And when we were discussing that in the morning, I was telling you guys, look, his response in the aftermath of being knocked out of the Carabao Cup did not sound very convincing. Did not sound sorry at all. He almost sounded like a manager who had given up on this team, a manager who didn't know what to say, a manager who did have an explanation, really, because there was no explanation for it. Not because of his, not for his system, not for his players. There's no amount of defense you could find. There's no amount of excuse. Now, like I said, for most people, they found it easy to point the fingers at Andre Onana because he did not have the best of performances in goal. Now, while that is true in its own ranks, I said, if you've conceded 2 sloppy goals, okay, well and good, take the hit. We will blame Onana for it. But go the other side and score 5. You're playing against Grimsby. I mean, it's a 4th-tier team in terms of the hierarchy of, English football. Premier League, skip. Championship, skip. League 1, skip. Go to League 2. That's where they are playing. So for you to lose to them, and in any case, guys, I felt, in my opinion, that Grimsby were robbed in no more time. That goal that was cancelled out for offside, I did not feel it was offside. And I was glad to learn this morning when I was following up on some of the conversations from the likes of Mark Colbridge and others that they felt the same thing. I was watching Flex. I think he's called Flex. He does work with TalkSport. He was saying he did not want, once Manchester United went 2-0, he did not want a comeback. He felt bad. He said it's the worst he's felt about this Manchester United side. Now, look at Thomas Frank. 1 month into that Tottenham Hotspur side, and there's a lot of things he's managed to change. The way they are pressing on the ball, their man-to-man kind of marking and pressing. If you looked at the patterns of play against Manchester City, they narrowed that pitch down. They closed down the central axis and pushed Manchester City to go to the wings. And their counter press was just very, very effective. When you look at their set piece play, I mean, it's improved. They literally do the same thing that Arsenal do. One, they pile a couple of players at the back end of the goal, of the box, depending on what direction the corner kick is being taken from. And before it is taken, they make that sort of lateral run into the 18-yard box or into the 16-yard box, and then one of those players runs to the goalkeeper to try and distract the goalkeeper or to try and prevent the goalkeeper from coming out to punch that ball away. And again, I understand it's still early times, but based on what we've seen so far, Tottenham Hotspurs look more organized and they look more adapted to what Thomas Frank is trying to get them to play or how he's getting them to play. In any case, they've already scored 5 goals in the Premier League in 2 games and have conceded none. And that's all credit. Now, you could argue that they played Burnley, but they also played Man City, They also played Man City. So, and that game against Manchester City was at the Etihad Stadium. So you ought to give credit to them. Now, we cannot be heaping all those kinds of praises and credit for Thomas Frank for changing this Tottenham Hotspur side when he's been a month and a half or 2, thereabout, and then Ruben Amorim has nothing to say for himself for the 9 months he's been at Manchester United, really. We shouldn't be looking at it in the same breath, really. So, this is according to Court Offside, who say that 2 names are on the official shortlist to replace Ruben Amorim, Oliver Glasner and Andoni Iraola, among others. Now, for me, again, these are very, very capable managers. Look at how Andoni Iraola is good in Bournemouth play. Now, they're playing really, really good football at AFC Bournemouth. And I do feel Oliver Glasner, the kind of work he's done at Crystal Palace. He came in February 2024. Yes, last season they did not have a good start to the season, but they had a brilliant ending to the season, and they're in a good sort of form. They've won the FA Cup, they've won the Community Shield, and that's really, really commendable. So Pedri says, what do you think of the Barcelona draw? The Barcelona draw, I mean, okay, let's digest that in just a bit. But just to conclude on Ruben Amorim. On Ruben Amorim, I think everything else is very good. You say just PSG is hard. I wouldn't say besides PSG, because okay, you have Frankfurt, you have Olympiacos, you have Copenhagen, Club Brugge, Slavia Praha, Newcastle. Now, all those are winnable games. Actually, on paper, all the games that Barcelona have are winnable games. But we know that it goes beyond what it looks on paper. PSG is a very tricky, opponent. Yes, that's for sure. But also Chelsea, I do not want to rule them out. And the most interesting thing about this Barcelona-Chelsea tie is, one, before you look at the historical context that there is between these two clubs, just look at how they are all going about football. From midfield onwards, they're very good. Defensively, they're a bit lacking for both teams. So it promises to be a very, very, very good encounter. And I think it's one that would give us goals. Barcelona's high line versus Chelsea's high line, I mean, I can sort of dream of a day when what's his name? When Lamine Yamal is having to run at that Chelsea defense. On the other side, Willian Estevao or Pedro Neto running at that Barcelona defense. So it's a very, very interesting goal for for Barcelona, and I think they will finish within the top 8 given the draw, because even if you are to fail to beat up against let's say you are preferred to beat up against a PSG, win 6 out of the 8 fixtures, and that's already 18 points on board. And then Chelsea, it's a 50-50. It's one that is winnable, but you can pick a draw, and that's 19 points. If you labor it out and do not lose against PSG, that's 20 points. But even if you are to lose out, still 19 points are good enough for teams to be finishing within the top 8. That helps teams keep that playoff round that comes for teams that finish between 9th and 24th that PSG had to go through last season. So I think it's a very, very good draw really for Barcelona. Let's see what do Real Madrid have in their run. I know they have a date with Liverpool. I know they have a date with Manchester City, based on what we discussed earlier on in this broadcast. For those of you that were looking at the draw, they have Man City, they have Liverpool, they have Juventus, they have Monaco, they have Olympiacos. Is it? Yes, they have Almaty. They have Olympic Marseille. Those are some winnable fixtures. I think they also have what's this? Anyways, yeah. So Real Madrid, winnable fixtures as well. Of course, they'll find a bit of a hard time with Liverpool. Liverpool did beat them last season. They did meet, and Liverpool won that fixture by 2-0. Manchester City is one of the usual opponents. It can go either way. Olympic Marseille can be a difficult one, but it's still a winnable fixture, in my opinion. If you're Real Madrid and you're playing in the UEFA Champions League, any fixture is a winnable fixture. Now, it's not guaranteed that you will win it, but I'm saying it's one that you can win when you're Real Madrid. So that's how I look at it. Okay, I think we've looked at that as well. Manchester United fans, if I wish we had some Manchester United fans on here with us. My question would be, my question would be, would you take back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Would you take Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? This is according to Gary Jacob. Gary Jacob says he says that Arsenal are increasingly confident of striking a deal for Bayer Leverkusen defender Pierre Hincapie. Arsenal have proposed a season-long loan with an obligation to buy the 23-year-old next summer, and Leverkusen are giving this offer serious consideration. And he puts there, it's a matter of time, a kind of sign. Okay. So that looks to be happening. Then according to now, this is what we are getting about Arsenal. It's about from the Purple Panel. It says Josh Kroenke granted Andrea Bata full authority since June to secure Arteta's priority targets. Board trust in Arteta's trust. Board trust in Arteta is absolute. Message delivered through Bata to be ruthless in the market hierarchy. Are confident signings have made Arsenal ready to win a major title. I mean, it's going to be the bare minimum. It's going to be the bare minimum this season when it comes to Arsenal and whatever they need to do. Because given all those recruitments, I mean, I do not think there's any excuse whatsoever that will be expected to come from Mikel Arteta. Injuries or not, nothing. They do have a sizable squad, and I'm not saying that injuries cannot become an issue, because sometimes they can come a little too fast. But they should be able to to go through all that traffic and win something. He needs to win something as soon as yesterday, really. As soon as yesterday. So let's wait and see. Okay. What else have we not discussed? Okay, staying at Arsenal, Kai Havertz is set to undergo a knee surgery, unfortunately. But according to David Austin of The Athletic, he says it's not expected. It's not going to be major surgery. I do not know if it's minor then or it's mid-range, but he did say that Arsenal forward Kai Havertz to undergo surgery after decision made as best course of action for the knee issue, but isn't major procedure, plus hope / expectation for the 26-year-old German international, and not set to miss a lengthy period before making Arsenal return. That's according to The Athletic. Now, any mid surgery, although he seems to suggest that it is not going to spend a long period out, anything to do with surgery, in my opinion, we are looking at an average period of 1.5 months to 2 months, thereabout. That's the bare minimum that we are looking at. So that means September, October, he's all out of action. Expect him in November. And with the UEFA Champions League coming, there's going to be a bit of pressure on that Arsenal forward line, because you look at it and you're thinking to yourself, with Kai Havertz out, who is the backup for Victor Gyökeres? And if I'm being honest, there's not many. Is it going to be a makeshift Mikel Merino once again, or you'd rather put the Ebelech Eze? Again, we'll see what solutions Mikel Arteta finds within his ranks, because Gabriel Jesus is equally not ready. He's coming back from a very, very long-term injury, and he's not immune to setbacks. So, I mean, it doesn't sound promising on my side to even think about that. Anyways, that's happening. That's everything that is happening when it comes to transfers. Quickly, let's let's hope that that's the case. Quickly, let's look at the latest from the world of transfer speculation and gossip, and see what there is for us, if any. Sometimes sometimes it's not ready yet at the time of our broadcast. Usually we rely on the compilation by BBC Sport, but it looks like there's nothing new as compared to what we already looked at in the morning. So we won't be revisiting that. We won't be revisiting that. Quickly. Yes. Okay. Just a second. Like I keep saying, there's so many transfers going around, but we cannot, we cannot be looking at it all because Sheffield United, for example, they did sign a Millwall defender, Tanganga, I think formerly at Spurs. So those are some of the things that slip through the cracks. Then we know for a fact that West Ham United did reach an agreement with Southampton to sign Martinez for about £42 million. That deal is being worked on to get done. So yeah, there's a lot that happens that we do not get to discuss on here when it comes to the world of transfers. So we oftentimes, stick to the major stories. Then like I said, AC Milan are pushing really hard to see if they can get a deal done for Manuel Akanji. We'll wait and see. But they did, they've been in contact today with Manchester City to try and understand the conditions of getting that deal done. So, yeah. Anyways, it's been a pleasure doing this with you for almost an hour. Thank you so much, Kayode of Deji. Thank you so much, Pedri, for chipping in. And every single one of you that managed to keep in for today's podcast. I hope we can do this again tomorrow morning together. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure. I'll see you guys next time. Stay blessed and have yourselves a blessed night ahead. Bye-bye for now.